and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today's meeting was noticed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. This commission acts in review and recommending capacity for comprehensive plan amendments, text amendments to the Charleston County Zoning and Land Development Regulations Ordinance, rezonings, and plan developments. The commission has decision-making authority on road name change requests, public project reviews, appeals of administrative decisions on final plats and subdivision matters, as well as other matters pursuant to Chapter 29, Title 6, Section 6-29-340 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina as amended. Those of you who wish to speak should have signed in outside the door. All right. I'm Cindy Floyd. I'm the chair. To my right is Pete Paulotis, Luke Morris, Gary Lassane, and Adam McConnell. And to my left, David Kent, Warwick Jones, Logan Davis, and Susan Cox. Also seated to my right is Commission Attorney Mark Bell, and seated to my left is Joel Evans, Director of Zoning and Planning. Joel, would you please introduce your staff that's present?
Sure. Andrea Melisig-White, the Deputy Director. She's not in her chair right now, but she's here. Wynn Carlisle, Marche Miller, and Emily Piggott, who will both be presenting cases today. Also, Stephanie Ondo is here, and she's doing the sign-in sheets. So she'll be in shortly, and she'll also be taking the votes, and here they come. All right.
I want to remind everybody, in order to get a good recording of the meeting for the minutes, please speak loudly and clearly into your microphones. And please do not talk over one another. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from August 11th, 2025. Is there a motion and a second?
Move to approve.
Okay. You want to call the roll?
Abstain, I was not present.
She's not.
Yes.
You want to turn your mic up?
Might make it easier.
Chair Floyd.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Kent.
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Morris.
Aye.
Vice Chair Pilatos.
Aye.
Commissioner Cox. The ayes have it.
The next item on the agenda is ZRES-07-25-00166, a request to rezone tax map number 390-00-00438 from industrial zoning district to the community commercial district. Marche Miller is going to present.
Great. So this request is located in the north area off Latson Road, and it is a request to rezone the subject parcel from industrial to community commercial. In 1994, the subject property's parent parcel was zoned industrial 2, and with the adoption of the ZLDR in 2001, the parent parcel was zoned industrial. In April of 2015, a subdivision application creating the subject parcel was approved, and there have been no previous rezoning requests for this parcel, and the subject property is undeveloped. Here is the location of the subject property when looking at the county as a whole. The future land use designation of the subject parcel is industrial. And there are parcels to the north, south, and across College Park Road. To the east are zoned community commercial and are developed with a church, fast food restaurant, gas station, or vacant. Properties to the west are zoned industrial general office, and they're developed with a church, vacant, or undeveloped. And then the properties to the south across Latson Road that do have frontage on Latson Road are in the city of North Charleston jurisdiction, and they are zoned light industrial and general business and are undeveloped. The subject property is located in Flood Zone X. This is an aerial view to the north, to the south, and these are photos of the subject property. These are photos of the adjacent parcels off College Park Road and then the adjacent parcel off Ladson Road. And these are photos of properties across College Park Road and across Ladson Road. This slide shows the comparison of allowed land uses in the current industrial zoning district and the proposed CC community commercial zoning district. Uses with a C are allowed with conditions, and uses with a S require special exception approval by the BZA. The uses in bold are only allowed in the zoning district in which it's listed under. Now, the requested CC zoning district allows the uses and densities recommended by the industrial future land use category, and it prohibits heavier industrial and manufacturing and production uses allowed in the current IN zoning district. Therefore, criterion A has been met. Residential uses and residential density, intensity, and dimensional standards are identical in the current zoning in the proposed zoning districts, with the exception of the transitional housing use, which is allowed in the requested zoning district but not in the current zoning. The majority of non-residential uses allowed are the same, although the requested CC zoning does not allow for heavier industrial, manufacturing and production, and warehouse and freight movement uses allowed in the current IN zoning. Dimensional standards of the requested CC zoning are similar to those in the current IN zoning, with the exception of the smaller minimum lot size, the smaller minimum lot width, and the maximum building coverage. So while there are some differences, the requested district is compatible with the existing uses and zoning of surrounding properties and the density and dimensional standards of the surrounding area. Therefore, criteria A and B have been met. Criteria C and D are not applicable. And because the zoning map amendment request meets one or more of the approval criteria, staff recommends approval. No public comments have been received for this request, and this meeting was noticed as required. That's it. Thank you.
We appreciate the staff's comprehensive report. Are there any questions for the staff from commission members? We'll now hear from the public. Each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes. Please state your name and address before giving your comments.
We had 4 people sign up, but only 3 of those signed up to speak. William Jones.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is William Jones. I'm the trustee chair for Wesley United Methodist Church, right there at the corner of College Park Road and Ladson Road. Our main question is, with the rezoning, how would that affect our church property?
Well, do you want me to try to answer?
It shouldn't affect it at all.
Yeah, the rezoning itself shouldn't affect your property. The use that, my understanding of what the applicant is proposing is actually allowed in industrial and commercial, but because they want to use both of those properties, they have to have the same zoning district. So that is why they're proposing, and it's actually a downzoning in our world that we live in, where they're going from industrial to community commercial. But other than that, I don't know how it would affect the church property.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay. Sarah Bozier. Did I say that right?
No, I'm with Mr. Johnson. He asked the question that I was going to ask.
Okay. Sounds good. George Jenkins.
Good afternoon. My name is George Jenkins. I'm a lay leader at West United Methodist Church. My question to you is that zoning going to run right across from where our property is listed right now? I mean, are you planning on using that? Are you taking up part of our parcel?
Marche, do you want to pull the map to show the parcels that are getting? So this only affects the. Will you show them? Do you see the parcel that's got sort of a bold line around it? It's
right.
Odd shaped. Looks. I don't know how you describe it, but it's odd shaped.
Is that a technical term?
Yeah, that's a technical term. So all of that subject parcel would turn red in the rezoning request and be community commercial rather than industrial.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know. I just want to know where it was coming through.
Yeah.
As far as our land and church is concerned.
Yeah. It doesn't affect anybody's property except this applicant's property. It wouldn't affect the surrounding properties.
All right. Thank you.
Is it?
That's it.
Okay. The case is now closed to public comment. Is there a motion and a second from the commission?
I'd like to put forth the motion as well. Yep, motion for approval based on.
Any discussion?
I just had a question. Has the applicant indicated what they can obviously do anything that's allowed as a use here, but have they indicated what they have in mind?
Yes. The reason for the rezoning is to have all the same zoning district because they want to take that corner as a whole and turn it into a gas station.
Okay. So the two red parcels on either side of it are also theirs and community commercial?
I think it's the two bottom ones.
These two.
Oh, it's up top. Okay.
Yeah,
Those,
that one and-
yeah, sorry.
okay.
Yeah, the top ones. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, call the roll, please.
On the move to approve, Commissioner Davis? Aye. Commissioner Lassane? Aye. Chair Floyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones?
Aye.
Commissioner Kent?
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell? Commissioner Morris?
Aye.
Vice Chair Pilatos?
Aye.
Commissioner Cox? The ayes have it.
County Council will hear this request at their public hearing on October 14th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. in council chambers, and again at their October 23rd, 2025 Planning and Public Works Committee meeting at 5 p.m. The request must then undergo 3 readings for approval at council's discretion. The next item on the agenda is proposed amendments to the Charleston County Comprehensive Plan and Charleston County Zoning and Land Development Regulations Ordinance to adopt the 10-mile Community Overlay Zoning District. Emily Pickett will present.
Thank you very much. All right, so just wanted to give you a brief timeline of kind of how we got to where we are to date. The 10-mile Community Historic District was adopted in June of 2022. Conversations about a possible community overlay zoning district began during that process. And starting in the beginning of 2023, staff met with the town of Mount Pleasant and began initial community outreach. In February 2024, County Council voted to rezone the urban-suburban area of 10 Mile from R4 to S3, with the awareness that the community was working with staff on further customizing the zoning regulations for 10 Mile. In July of 2024, County Council passed a temporary 24-month moratorium on major subdivisions within historic districts. And throughout 2024 and the first half of 2025, staff held additional community meetings, as well as meetings with any stakeholders as requested. As a culmination of all of these outlined efforts, a draft overlay zoning district is being presented for your review and recommendation today. So this slide shows each of the proposed sections contained within the 10-mile overlay zoning district, and we will cover each of these sections in detail. And here is the proposed 10-mile overlay map. Please note the light purple line, that is the urban growth boundary, and it does divide the 10-mile community, placing a portion within the urban-suburban area and another portion within the rural area. In addition to the events and efforts that I've already covered, 3 other documents support the creation of the 10-mile overlay zoning district. The Town of Mount Pleasant's Settlement Community Task Force's final report recommended that future development be consistent with the existing community, with low residential densities and compatible building scale and lot coverage, including commercial uses. Also, the 2016 Charleston County Cultural Resources Survey update noted the significance of 10-mile settlement patterns and social organization, and the Charleston County Cultural Resources element of the comprehensive plan states that settlement areas should be protective from the negative impacts of growth and development. So this draft seeks to implement the cultural resources element goal of the comprehensive plan by protecting and promoting the culture of the historic 10-mile community, preserving historic low-density residential development patterns, and reintroducing opportunities for commercial uses in community-identified appropriate locations. Just a few technical items of note. Planned developments within the 10-mile overlay district boundaries shall not be subject to the regulations of the overlay. If there are any conflicts between the regulations set forth in this overlay zoning district and the rest of the ZLDR, those found in this overlay shall control. So the community identified several uses they would like to see prohibited on all parcels within the 10-mile overlay boundary, and you can see those listed on this slide here. Additionally, the community has asked to remove the current 1,500 square foot building size limitation for accessory dwelling units in the rural area. Please note that size limit only currently exists for the rural area. The overlay doesn't propose any different standards than those existing in the ZLDR for both home occupations and temporary uses and structures. So here is a map showing the residential areas proposed within the overlay. So you can see the light tan color on the right-hand side. Those are properties that are going to be classified within the residential urban suburban area. And then properties on the right-hand side of the map that are shown in tan, those would fall under the residential rural area. So here are the uses that the community determined to be appropriate for all parcels within the residential area. And just to note, if it's followed by a C, that means it's a use subject to conditions. If it's followed by an S, that would require special exception approval from the Board of Zoning Appeals. The properties shown here in red are the proposed commercial properties. You'll see the darker red are commercial properties within the urban suburban area, and the lighter red at the top, those are properties that are commercial within that rural area. And that only comes to matter if they are developed strictly residentially. And these are the same uses, but for the commercial properties that the community determined they would like to see out there. And again, please note the C's and S's as applicable. Now we're moving on to specific use conditions. All new single-family detached dwelling units within the proposed overlay district boundaries are proposed to be subject to the following use condition. If the minimum requirements set forth in the county's flood ordinance results in a design flood elevation of less than 8 feet, the lowest floor may be elevated to a maximum of 8 feet. Provided, however, that increases in the lowest floor elevation may be allowed beyond 8 feet if approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals through a special exception. Recreation and entertainment indoor land uses. Oh, sorry about that. Recreation and entertainment indoor land uses shall not have vehicular access to adjoining residentially zoned or used properties. They shall not operate between midnight and 11 a.m. and cannot contain indoor shooting ranges. The proposed land use condition for the artisan and craftsman land use only differs from those already set forth in the ZLDR in one aspect, that on-site retail sales are allowed, limited to articles of artistic quality or effect or handmade workmanship produced on the premises. Affordable and workforce dwelling units. So the purpose of this use condition is to clarify which standards parcels within the overlay would follow within the existing ZLDR requirements for affordable and workforce housing. So commercial properties in the urban suburban area would follow R4. Those in the rural area would follow AGR. In the residential urban suburban area, R4 parcels would follow those R4 standards, and all other residential properties would follow those for S3. Rural residential properties shall follow the AGR standards, and alternative housing types shall be allowed pursuant to special exception approval in the urban suburban area only. So special events as principal uses. This use condition, again, is just intended to clarify which standards of the existing regulations in Article 6.7 special events of the ZLDR that shall apply for special events as principal uses. So properties in the urban suburban area would follow the NC standards, and properties in the rural area would follow the RC standards for that use. So the density, intensity, and dimensional standards of the proposed overlay are divided into 3 areas: the residential urban suburban area, the residential rural area, and then commercial properties. So the residential urban suburban area you can see shown here. The properties in light yellow are intended for inclusion in that area. The properties in bright yellow are also proposed to be included in the residential urban suburban area, but are proposed to retain their current R4 density, intensity, and dimensional standards. And here is the full density, intensity, and dimensional standards table for this area. Understanding that this is difficult to read at this scale, we did separate it onto the following 2 slides for legibility. So this area of the overlay is proposed to have a density of 3 principal dwelling units per acre with a minimum lot area of 12,500 square feet if both water and sewer is available. Proposed minimum lot width is 70 feet with both water and sewer. Minimum lot width average is 1 to 5. Minimum setbacks proposed are 25 feet at the front and street side, 15 feet at the interior, and 25 feet at the rear. Proposed maximum building coverage is 20% of the lot, and the proposed maximum impervious surface coverage is 25. The community also proposed a maximum width to depth ratio of 1 to 1.25 for single-family dwellings. This means that the depth of the home cannot be greater than 1.25 times the street-facing width of the same home. This proposed ratio would apply to all properties within the residential urban suburban area, including those designated as R4. And in the draft overlay, the building height is limited to 35 feet. So moving on, these properties are those intended for inclusion in the residential rural area. Please note that those properties shown in blue have already been designated as planned developments, so these regulations would not apply. Again, here is that full table, and then we'll break it out for legibility. So the proposed density in this area of the overlay is 1 principal dwelling unit per acre with a minimum lot area of 38,500 square feet if both water and sewer is available. The proposed minimum lot width is 70 feet with both water and sewer, and the minimum lot width average is again 1 to 5. Proposed minimum setbacks are 25 at the front street side, 15 at the interior, and 25 in the rear. The proposed maximum building coverage is 25% of the lot, and the proposed maximum impervious surface coverage is 30% of the lot. Again, in this area, the same proposed maximum width to depth ratio for single-family dwellings is proposed, so that 1 to 1.25, and the maximum building height is 35 feet. Lastly, the properties shown in shades of red in this map are proposed to be designated as commercial within the overlay. Once more, here's that full table, and then broken up. The proposed maximum density in this area is 2 principal dwelling units per acre for mixed-use occupancy, which means that both residential and commercial development is occurring on the same property. Please note that if parcels are developed solely with residential uses, they would just follow the density, intensity, and dimensional standards set forth for either that urban-suburban area or the rural area, depending on where the property falls. Minimum lot width is 100 feet, and the minimum lot width average, again, is 1 to 5. Proposed setbacks are the same at 25 feet in the front and street, 15 feet at the side, and 25 feet in the rear. The minimum distances between the structures shall be 20 feet and a maximum building height of 35 feet. And a maximum building coverage of 30% of the lot is proposed. Additionally, no single building shall exceed 5,000 square feet of gross area. So now we're going to move on to talk about specific development standards for properties within the overlay, starting with fencing. So the draft overlay states that fences shall be measured from natural grade, not placed on berms, and ensure compliance with the vision clearance requirements of our ZLDR. Regarding the storage of vehicles on commercial properties, all vehicle parking and related equipment shall be screened from view. Individuals submitting zoning permit applications for signage shall demonstrate proof of coordination with the 10 Mile Neighborhood Association. The following standards are proposed for freestanding on-premises signs. Number 1, when on residential properties, the maximum area shall be limited to 9 square feet with a maximum height of 4 square feet. In non-residential signs shall be limited to 36 square feet in size and 6 feet in height. And signage for civic and institutional uses are limited to 25 square feet. Pedestrian ways shall be provided in all non-residential development, as well as in subdivisions where 3 or more lots are created. Street names shall be placed on reserve with 911 consolidated dispatch, and applications must include proof of coordination with the 10 Mile Neighborhood Association. Gated communities are proposed for prohibition in the overlay. Additionally, the overlay proposes to designate the 10 Mile community as a stormwater special protection area, which might require additional or more strict stormwater design criteria, and it is determined on a case-by-case basis, working with the Public Works Department. The draft overlay proposes that traffic impact studies be required if any of the following thresholds are met. 1, 75 cumulative vehicle trips. 2, 4 cumulative fuel dispensing units. 3, 4 cumulative vehicle charging stations. 4, 3 or more cumulative acres, or 5, 3 or more cumulative dwelling units. And it was important to the community that golf carts be included in these traffic counts. All traffic impact studies shall comply with the existing regulations set forth in the ZLDR. Now, regarding legal non-conforming water-dependent uses, any that may exist within the overlay, they shall follow the existing regulations set forth in the ZLDR. As part of the draft overlay, if a legal non-conforming structure is damaged or destroyed by an act of God, it can be restored as it existed previously if the repairs are initiated within 36 months of the date of damage. Additionally, the terms lowest floor and natural grade are used within the body of the overlay, but are not currently defined in the ZLDR. So therefore, staff is proposing the inclusion of these 2 new definitions into Article 12.1 Terms and Uses Defined of the ZLDR, and these definitions are consistent with those used by FEMA. To complement the proposed amendments to the ZLDR, it is necessary to amend the comprehensive plan to add the 10 Mile Community Overlay Zoning District map, and then also to update the future land use designations to reflect that overlay status. Amendments to the comprehensive plan may be approved if the amendments are consistent with the overall purpose and intent of the plan, as well as any one of the criteria listed on this slide. The bolded criterion, which states events, trends, or facts after adoption of the comprehensive plan have changed the character or condition of an area, making the proposed amendment necessary, is the one staff feels has been met. And in response to that, the character and condition of the 10 Mile community located east of the Cooper River has changed over time, brought about largely by the increase in requests to subdivide land, particularly in the form of major subdivisions. Prior to January of 2024, the urban-suburban area of 10 Mile was largely R4, which since 2021 allowed for 5,000 square foot minimum lot sizes, as well as 4 dwelling units per acre. While the 4 dwelling units per acre density is greater than the traditional patterns of development in 10 Mile, it was largely the 5,000 square foot minimum lot size and 5-foot interior side setbacks that resulted in residential developments within 10 Mile where large houses have been constructed on small lots, and the space between the homes is much less than what was historically seen within the area. Although the portion of 10 Mile that was R4 has since been rezoned by County Council to S3, there were still additional development standards that the community wanted to customize to better reflect the traditional character of the community. Additionally, with developable land becoming scarcer in Charleston County, increased pressures have been placed on many historic African American communities since they have oftentimes maintained large tracts of undeveloped land. Moreover, the proposed 10 Mile Overlay District is consistent with the adopted Charleston County Comprehensive Plan's Table 3.9.1 Priority Recommendations, which directs staff to adopt an overlay zoning district for 10 Mile. Additionally, ZLDR text amendments may be approved if all 3 of the following approval criteria are met. 1, the proposed amendment corrects an error or inconsistency or meets the challenge of a changing condition. 2, the proposed amendment is consistent with the adopted Charleston County Comprehensive Plan and goals as stated in Article 1.5. And 3, the proposed amendment is to further the public welfare in any other regard specified by County Council. In response to Criterion 1, staff responds that the 10 Mile Overlay Zoning District seeks to meet the challenge of a changing condition. According to the findings of the population element of the comprehensive plan, the population of Charleston County is projected to increase by 28% from 2010 to 2035. This population boom has resulted in an increase in tract development, The 10-mile community, with its desirable location at the edge of the town of Mount Pleasant's footprint, partially within the urban growth boundary, and property along both the Copiahee Sound and Wando River, has become a prime location for major subdivisions and large-scale residential development. Together with the previously applicable R4 zoning standards, these factors have led to development within the 10-mile community that does not reflect the historic and cultural patterns of development in the area. Although the urban-suburban residential area of 10 Mile was rezoned from R4 to S3, the existence of the R4 zoning in this area for around 25 years has left a long-lasting impact. And the urban-suburban residential area of the 10 Mile overlay provides even further customized regulations based on community input, which builds upon that S3 rezoning. Continuing on to address criterion 2, Article 1.5, purpose and intent of the ZLDR, states that the following are goals: protecting and preserving scenic, historic, or ecologically sensitive areas, and facilitating the creation of a convenient, attractive, and harmonious community, fostering growth and development, and preserving our natural cultural resources, always respecting the rights of the individual, including private property rights. The 10 Mile overlay seeks to address these goals by creating customized zoning for the community, which includes all properties within the 10 Mile Community Historic District, and it is aligned with the vision of the residents. The cultural resources element of the comprehensive plan states that African American settlement areas should be protected from potentially negative impacts of growth and development. And additionally, as stated previously, the overlay is consistent with the comprehensive plan's table 3.1.9 priority recommendations. Addressing criterion 3, staff responds that on July 23, 2024, County Council voted to adopt a 24-month moratorium on major subdivisions within Charleston County designated historic districts due to the unprecedented growth in these areas, as well as an increase in the amount of subdivision plat applications. In the moratorium adoption ordinance, Council asked the Zoning and Planning Department to, quote, study and analyze the impacts of major subdivisions to properties within historic districts and review what revisions or amendments to the county's existing ordinances and regulations are necessary and desirable in order to protect the public's best interests, health, safety, and welfare. The 10 Mile Overlay Zoning District fulfills this request by County Council for the 10 Mile community. So staff is recommending approval of both the comprehensive plan and the ZLDR text amendments. Prior to today's meeting, we received 5 general comments. We also received 2 comments in opposition and 5 comments that stated they would support the overlay if their proposed edits could be incorporated into the draft. And then after the public input deadline, but prior to today's meeting, we did also receive 2 additional comments. One in opposition to the density increase in the rural area, and another from the Coastal Conservation League that recommends delaying the adoption process to allow for additional community engagement. And we did, of course, notice this meeting as required. And for those interested, we did include this summary slide at the end for all of the proposed zoning changes on a parcel level, if you wanted to see that. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for staff from the commission? Luke?
I'm going to go ahead and apologize. I have a handful. So one of them is no vehicular access to adjoining residentially zoned or used property. Is that to stop cul-de-sacs, or is it like were there instances where like a commercially zoned property had a road to a residential?
Yeah. To be honest, that was put forth from the community, and I wouldn't want to put words in their mouth, but this is something that exists currently for recreation and entertainment indoor land uses in the Parkers Ferry overlay, so it's possible that they just saw that and thought it might be appropriate. It wasn't triggered by a particular instance or development, as far as I'm aware.
How is it? I'm not too sure what it means, I guess.
Yeah.
I can try to explain.
Sure.
Yeah. So I think recreation and entertainment indoor is a non-residential type of use. Mm-hmm. So I would guess that whether it's in this provision is in this article or the Parkers Ferry one, that we didn't want to have non-residential uses driving through residential communities. Okay. So they would have to have a direct access to the street rather than driving through a residential community first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I understand that. It would be kind of like a site planning deal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then also under artisan and craftsman, says that uses are limited to a maximum of 2,000 square feet and 5 non-resident employees. Mm-hmm. How is that enforced initially and then continued to be enforced?
Yeah. I might want to defer to Joel on that one. Those regulations exist currently in the ZLDR, just so you're aware, for this land use.
Yeah, I mean, when a site plan is required, when a permit's issued, we're going to make sure that they show that the floor area of what is the non-residential portion is no more than 2,000 square feet, and have them in their application letter of intent have a statement that no more than 5 non-resident employees shall be.
And resident would be 10 Mile community resident or Charleston County resident.
Go ahead.
My understanding is that's somebody that resides on that actual parcel, whether that be the property owner or the person living on the property.
So on the property.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. It talks about all activities related to artisan and craftsman use shall be confined to a structure that is entirely enclosed. And I think in general, I get that obviously if there are like the production of like goods and other things, it would be confined and not just strewn around the yard. Is that generally the application?
Yes.
Absolutely,
Yes.
yes.
So yes, that's the purpose of that section. Yeah.
Also, with the depth of single-family dwelling units not exceeding 1.25 times the street-facing width, is this driven just by community want, or were these like based on existing homes in the area?
Yeah. I would let the community respond to whether or not that they did some exercises to come up with that. But yes, the intention there, what we've heard over and over again from the community is that they do not want to have these incredibly deep, long, narrow homes that take up the entire buildable footprint of a small lot. Something you might think of like a Charleston single style, as opposed to the ranch style home that has a much larger street facing frontage that's more commonly seen in the area.
Okay.
I would just add that note, that one subtext of 1 to 1.25 is the one that is the most important development standard for the community of what we've heard and what we've experienced in the Historic Preservation Commission as we get applications for CHAs. As Emily said, we have repeatedly seen homes that were much deeper than they were wide, and we repeatedly heard from the community that was the style and bulk of a house that they did not recognize as being part of their community. So I believe this 1.25 to 1 was the community's attempt in addressing that one big major issue that they had with the development.
Okay.
And yeah.
So it talks about 35-foot height. Does it include flood elevation? I know in the ZLDR that DFE design flood elevation is not included in that. I just want to make sure that's the case.
Yes,
that's correct.
It's the same. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And then the elevating of the home to 8 feet would be measured from that lowest floor definition?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. I think that's it.
Thank you. I've got really a question and also a comment, so it's kind of two of them together. One of them, could you please give me that clarification again on, there was a statement that I heard, but I didn't fully take it in. The protected from growth and development. There was a statement made that I guess the communities or Black Americans or African Americans or whatever term we're using now
Yeah, we have.
should be protected from growth development. Will you amplify that for me, please?
Yeah, so there is a line in our Charleston County Comprehensive Plan in the cultural resources element that states that African American settlement communities shall be protected from potential negative impacts of growth and development.
Protected how?
It leaves it open for us to adopt additional tools, like perhaps this overlay.
Yeah, this is an example.
If you agree.
So with this overlay at the same time, did we have conversations with the community as well to understand that essentially it also lessens the value of their properties?
Mr. Lassane, I'd like to refer you to, we've been working with either the community or the town or stakeholders individually for the past 3 years. And all of these conversations were had. When we were working with the community, we were working with the 10-mile
Historic Preservation Committee.
Yes, thank you. Historic Preservation Committee. Worked with them a lot. And then we had numerous community meetings where we got input from all of the residents.
So there were like specific options granted that would allow the homeowners out there to still find other solutions around the issues, but retain their property values as they are today.
When we go out to do these community meetings, we hear from the community what they would like to see in their community, how it would be developed. We got that information from the community and put that in a document in this overlay.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Susan?
A question about the accessory units. It's kind of just a curiosity question. They're currently allowed in the urban suburban area to be over 1,500 square feet, and you're adding that to the rural residential area north of 17, west of 17.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, so currently, you're absolutely correct, but just to clarify, so currently, any property within the urban suburban area can have one accessory dwelling unit of any size. Of course, they're limited by things like their impervious surface coverage and other site constraints like setbacks. The community is proposing here to remove that square footage limitation. Again, it only exists currently in the rural area. But one thing to note is that in the rural area, you need 1.5 times the minimum lot size to establish an accessory dwelling unit. So there is still that additional threshold. It's about an acre. But again, it would be removal of that square footage limitation, and it would just be dictated by the other site constraints.
Okay. Just, I'm assuming that north of 17, those are all on septic at this juncture? Well, on septic?
Yeah.
And so that will also be obviously a restraint on,
of course,
a 3,000 square foot accessory dwelling on a lot. Okay. Thank you.
For the rural area, I'm curious how the upzoning came about, if the objective of the overlay is to preserve the character.
Yeah.
It seems like it would encourage development in that area.
Yeah, so that came out from community members, came out fairly early on, an interest in changing, from some folks, an interest in changing the density over there. At first, the conversation was a desire to take the S3 zoning all the way through the community. That wouldn't be something that staff would have been able to support since it's in the rural area. So ultimately, the majority of the folks that came out to the meetings expressed the desire to keep the one dwelling unit per acre as the proposal that you're seeing today. So it is an increase in density. Currently, the zoning allows for one dwelling unit per 3 acres. So it is a change, yes, sir. Again, entirely brought about from the community.
Gary?
So another follow-up, and maybe legal might have more of an answer for this, but could a lot of these changes not be handled through an HOA within the community?
Is there an HOA? There is no HOA.
But one could be formed.
Okay.
I believe, to answer your question, in theory, then they probably could. But I'd like to remind the commission that this is all driven by the community and their desire to see what zoning they wanted. This is not necessarily something that staff said, "Hey, this is what we want you to have." This was the community saying, "Hey, we want to see these changes. County staff, please help us write it in a way that we want it."
Just kind of putting it out there because sometimes things might be missed by the community as well. So that's why I'm putting it out there.
Mm-hmm.
You said in signage that it has to be at least not approved, but directed with the 10-mile community. Is that something that we could even put in our because it seems like it's just outside of the normal preview?
Do you want to say
Sure,
anything?
yeah. I mean, that's something that the county does regulate the names of roads to begin. We have a process for that. So this would just be adding one more layer to that process of, hey, you provide us a coordination letter from the 10-mile community to make sure you're okay with this. This is, I think the community, this goes back to the culture and the roots of the community. They want to be sure that the roads truly reflect what it is that they want in the naming of them and what it appears what the public is seeing of what the road names are. They want some cohesiveness to it and a say-so in what the road names are. My thought is that so that they can impact and reflect the cultural community in the naming of the roads.
So do they have approval of that, or is it just for their, I mean, how is the coordination going to go? And also, does that also for commercial property?
It's for the naming of all roads. And the way it would go, as I said, that if this was not in an overlay district, someone was proposing to subdivide or name a road, they would work with our 911 consolidated dispatch to make sure the road names are, there we go, 911 CDC, make sure those road names are approvable. And then we would just be saying, okay, these are the road names that are approvable. Provide developer or property owner, provide us a letter from the 10 Mile Association that they like these names as well. Yep.
And that's, with a legal standpoint, is that something that we could have?
Ultimately, what we are looking for is an opportunity for the community to provide a list of, we'll say, 100 names or whatever they want to, that yes, we like this 100 names, and then the developer will say, yes, I'm fine with the 100 names. Ultimately, then neither one of those parties can approve what the name is because it has to go through a whole process with the Consolidated Dispatch Center and the first responders to see whether or not that name can actually even be used. So really, there's no approval. It's, hey, is everyone fine with some suggestions that we want to propose to the 911 center that can be used in the end?
Gary?
Could I get staff to just explain to me what the definition of a settlement community is?
Sure. Please. Since no one else is going to, I'll do my best. That was a name that was developed early on in the 1999-2000 timeframe when the zoning districts were originally created for the whole county. There were pockets of historically African American communities that had always referred, my understanding, I'm not an expert on it, referred to as settlement communities. So there was some sort of cultural significance with it that they could trace the lineage back to certain individuals.
So theoretically, you could have settlement communities that are non-black communities as well.
I think so, yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Which would thus allow these same types of ordinance changes to be enacted.
Oh, sure. I mean, this is not, overlay zoning districts are not specific for settlement communities or a type of settlement community. It's for anywhere in the county that a community wishes to have customized development standards or zoning for their area. And we do have those throughout the county. Yes.
Thank you.
So the regulation on sidewalks seems to me that it would potentially turn into a very piecemeal sidewalk network. Would there be any intent to connect them if they got to some point in the future that made sense?
So the only time that we have the ability to require a sidewalk is in all non-residential development and, well, just as the slide says, in a subdivision. I was going to read it right off. So, yeah, those are the only times that we, in our ordinance, that we have the ability to require people to put a sidewalk in. So any of the gaps would have to be done through another process. Yeah.
That could potentially be prompted either by the citizens of the county
Yes.
requesting it, or okay.
Yes, exactly. Or getting on the list for Charleston County's road and sidewalk improvement programs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I think it will be my last question, I promise. Maybe. Rural residential area of one principal dwelling unit per acre is currently one per 3 acres, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's it. Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, we're ready to hear from the public.
Yeah. Thought we were done.
All right, we will now hear public comments. Each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes. Please state your name and address before giving your comments. Somebody on the staff want to start the timer?
Yeah. We had 14 people. We had 14 people sign up, but only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to actually speak. So the first one, I'll just go down the list. Pearl Askew.
Good evening. It's Pearl Askew, 977 Gadsdenville Road. Thank you, commissioners, for a vigorous discussion. It was quite informative on our part. And I just wanted to say I appreciate the staff working with the 10 Mile community and the 10 Mile community committee members who worked tirelessly for more than 2 years to get where we are today. And it took a lot of time and effort and consistent work from staff and the community at large. I want to thank each one of the community members, some that wants to be here today but it's not. And under the circumstances, when it comes to the settlement community, the Gullah Geechee community, I noticed that there was a mention of the value of the property, but we just got our assessment notice about a couple of weeks ago, and nothing has changed. And we also need to remember that these Gullah Geechee communities, these settlement communities, these communities are already established communities that just happen to be more land available for newcomers to come. We have residents or people coming from all over the country that loves our area. They loves the Low Country in South Carolina. So we just want to make sure that our newcomers enjoy our communities as well as we do. And we just want to keep this particular type of building information and how we have sustained ourselves for hundreds of years, let's say it like that. And I just appreciate everyone that's working together to get this going and moving forward. And we may have some tweaks, but that's okay. And thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fran White.
Fran White. I am a representative of the 10 Mile Neighborhood Association, which is located at 3926 Seafood Road.
Could you tell us
In April, the
Excuse me.
HPC heard a developer's request for a certificate.
Your address.
You need your address.
Your address. Your address.
2015 Hammond Drive.
Okay.
In April, the HPC heard a developer's request for a certificate of 4 more homes they want to build right next to their model home in the 10 Mile community. This developer has been allowed through settlements from appeals to build uncharacteristic homes on uncharacteristic size lots in 3 major subdivisions and also now 2 minor subdivisions in this one Gullah Geechee community. They will have built approximately 50 homes in less than 2 years, which is almost more than the number of homes built in the decade after Hurricane Hugo. That's not smart growth. The comprehensive plan, historic district status, and rezoning S3 have been developed. 10 Mile is a community that was recognized for its settlement patterns. settlement patterns that developers and others are destroying. The temporary building moratorium is in place regarding major subdivisions. Meanwhile, the developers are proceeding with minor subdivisions while they plan for additional major subdivisions they want to build throughout the community. Having the overlay district will help to add another layer of protection for this community that is headed for gentrification if some people have their way. We ask that you support the request for the overlay district with the necessary corrections to reflect discussion with the community and the 10 Mile board members.
Thank you.
Ed Pinkney.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ed Pinkney, 3768 Robbie Glover Road, Owendale, South Carolina, 10 Mile community. I'm a member of the 10 Mile Neighborhood Association. So first, like Fran and Ms. Askew, I'd like to thank staff. We worked with them for over about 2 years to develop the overlay. There are just a few items I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention. We had some questions, and I've been intimately involved with overlay. So the 1.25 was essentially purposely put in there. We don't want to see the community reflect turning into essentially downtown Charleston, which remain essentially in our rural development. There was also a mention of ensuring property owners have their home value. One of the things we're committed to is helping property owners get the value for their land. So we've helped them work with organizations such as Greenbelt and Holy City Tracts to purchase their land for affordable housing. We support the development of the overlay. There are some line item details we want to bring up, namely in the rural area, 1 home to 3 acres. Essentially, that is the agreement we have with the community to leave it the way it is until all the heirs agree on what they want for that side of the community. So 1 home to 3 acres. And then also, we talked earlier about minor and major subdivision. In that light, we are submitting to staff essentially what we would like to see put into the overlay to control growth going forward. Right now, the overlay does a lot to essentially define how 10 Miles is going to exist, but we also want to define how it will be developed going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sam Spence.
Hello, members of the Planning Commission. I'm Sam Spence from the Preservation Society of Charleston. Glad to be here today to talk about preservation efforts in our historic districts. And obviously a great deal of thanks goes to planning staff and to residents for continued engagement on this for 2 years, as was said before. And you all know this is not the first community overlay district the county has adopted. There are others in Parkers Ferry and in Soul Agree, but this is the first historic district with an overlay. So it's important to take stock of the valuable components of historic preservation planning the county has at its disposal as we discuss this today. So you'll remember that the county took kind of a 2-pronged approach with Planning Commission's help when it tried to tackle the creation of this overlay. And that included adoption of S3 for the areas inside the urban growth boundary and the temporary moratorium on major subdivisions. We think by all accounts, and I think everybody agrees, that those have kind of done a good job to forestall some of the impacts of development pressure in that area. So we're supportive of the overlay, but we wanted to flag a couple things for you all. And it could inform how county council discusses this in the future. The first is the question of how major subdivisions will be addressed going forward. The temporary subdivision moratorium expires in July, and densities will be lower at that time than they were before. But we're curious to see how that could be incorporated into the overlay itself so that the county doesn't have to continue extending a moratorium indefinitely. Second is the increasing density in the rural parcels. And as a matter of practice, there is potential for unforeseen negative consequences for increasing density outside the urban growth boundary, especially in special protection areas. And that's an issue across the whole county. We hear talk about that on Johns Island as well. And so we're supportive of residents' desires to keep the density as it is now. And I'll also remind you all that other local leaders are watching this process. Members of Mount Pleasant Town Council, I'm sure as you've all heard, have said they hope to mirror what the county does in 10 Mile. And of course, that's up to them, whether and how they do that. But the point is that this could impact subdivision, development, and development pressure all through East Cooper. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Edward Goodwin. Sir. Oh, sorry.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good Good afternoon.
It's so good to be here this afternoon.
And your address, Mr. Goodwin?
My address is 5417 Seaweed Road, Oindal, South Carolina. That's my home address. But I do have a parcel of property in the 10-mile community, which we are discussing right now. So we are here to represent the community of the 10-mile section for the development that they are striving to keep under control, as we all are, even in our Oindal community, which I live. We have to face the same problem. So we are here today just to represent and to be able to afford the 10-mile community the opportunity to do what they need to do. And also, like I said, I have parcel property in the 10-mile community that we are trying to protect also as we go forth from this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last one, Lisa Jones.
Hi, Planning Commission members. Sorry, adjust for my height. I'm Lisa Jones, and I work at the Historic Charleston Foundation. My address is 930 Tall-Pine Road. I'm here to, first of all, to thank everyone for the work that has gone into this overlay. I know it's been a lot of meetings, and I really appreciate the time and effort and thought that's gone into it. And hopefully the moratorium will also be extended for as long as it needs to be extended in order to get this overlay right. In general, we're supportive of the S3 zoning for the urban suburban area and for the regulations pertaining to it. Our primary concern is about the properties in the 10-mile overlay that are outside of the urban growth boundary. As you saw in the presentation, the 10-mile community, the 10-mile rural area outside of the UGB is rural residential, which is 1 unit per 3 acres. The overlay is changing it to 1-to-1, so 1 unit per 1 acre, as you've heard. That's a significant change, and in our mind, we agree with the community that is not something that the majority of people in that part of the community want to see. So we stand in support with the community of not upzoning the entire 10-mile community in the rural area. And, you know, members of the community have expressed that maintaining the rural zoning is in keeping with the goal of the comprehensive plan and of what they're aiming to do in general. So upzoning works against that goal in our mind. If individual property owners would wish to apply for a rezoning in the future, that could be an option for individual properties, but a blanket upzoning of the rural area, in our mind, opens up that type of development that you're trying to prevent with an overlay district. Thank you again.
One comment I want to make, Lisa. It was the community that told us that they wanted to upzone from 1 dwelling unit per 3 acres to 1 dwelling unit per acre. I just wanted to make sure it was clear in what you were saying, that our exercise of going out into the community, that's what the community told us. But if it gets changed during the process, that's fine. But I just wanted to make sure that was understood that it was not staff that made that recommendation. It was the community when we went out in the community meetings. Right.
May I respond to that and just say that's why I think it would be good. I think everybody in the community may not agree.
Okay.
So
yes.
Taking it parcel by parcel might make more sense.
One thing I've learned out of this, not everyone is in agreement in 10 Mile. Yes, yes. And we do the best we can when we go to the communities to get feedback. Okay. That's all I want to say. That's it for speakers.
Okay. All right, case is now closed to public comment. Is there a motion and a second from the commission?
Staff approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
Go ahead and make the motion.
I'm certainly going to support the staff.
Is he on?
Yep. Support the staff. I guess my first comment is simple. I've read through the documents and I've listened to the presentation. I think if I had to sit for an examination on this, I would fail. It's complex. Lots of weeds, not toxic, but obfuscating. The staff has put in a lot of time and a lot of effort in this, and as Joel has said, the opinion of the community was somewhat fluid, and it was rather hard in some circumstances to pinpoint exactly what was wanted. But the staff has made its best efforts, and I accept that. I might add that I had some issues. Well, I shouldn't say issues, but I had some questions. I wasn't happy with the no limit on the dwelling unit, accessory dwelling units. And I asked staff about that, and they said, yes, that's not a problem because there is limitations that are imposed by other conditions. And I think many of the other questions that I had to ask, and perhaps of others, lay in other issues or other, how shall I say, parts of the ordinance. So I would support this and would recommend that. And I would also like to sort of comment on what Commissioner Lassane had said. The purpose of the historic district, I guess, is to preserve the African-American nature going forward. And I can understand that in the short term. But, okay, you're limiting development at the moment, and you're preserving the status quo. But at the same time, you're making this area more attractive to others. And as I've said a number of times, I think if you come back here in 50 years' time, and not only is this a community, but perhaps other African-American communities, they won't be solely African-American. The racial makeup of these districts in 50 years' time, I suspect, will be similar to the racial makeup of the community at that time, because you're making it more attractive to individual buyers, or that barrier will not be there. So I guess I would leave it at that. I would recommend that we accept this.
Luke?
So everyone said it. Staff's done a great job. 2 years, that's quite a commitment. So in total, I don't think that this is a bad overlay, but I don't think that I can vote for it unless, Warwick, you were willing to change your motion to allow the condition that the rural residential remain one dwelling unit per 3 acres.
I'd let other people comment on that. I don't know. If the staff has made this recommendation on the input from the community, if that's the case, I would say leave it as it is.
Yeah,
And
I would like to know what you're basing that on, Luke.
So my general thought is if somebody came to us, it wasn't a request for an overlay zone, it was a zone or a property outside the urban growth boundary that was currently 1 unit per 3 acres, I could not find myself, in general, supporting an upzoning of 1 dwelling unit per acre. And so because of that logic, being outside the urban growth boundary, I would have the same opinion on this, obviously.
Right, and I just want to make sure, and your train of thought, Luke, the 1 dwelling unit per acre is something that is consistent with the comp plan for the rural areas in the RR3 zoning district. But there may be other variables that you may or may not want to vote for a straight rezoning, but I just want, that is something that is consistent.
Okay. And I completely get that. I guess what I'm saying is that it currently is 1 dwelling unit per 3 acres.
Correct.
And that even though it may be consistent with the comprehensive plan, I couldn't see myself supporting a request to increase that zoning outside of the urban growth boundary.
Understood. I just want to make sure everyone understands that that's not outside of the recommended density for R3.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And this is for an overlay. It's not some individual coming in saying, we want to do this.
Which to me makes it a bigger thing. And so I'm much more inclined to not support the increase in zoning.
Okay. Anybody else? Susan?
I'm afraid I agree. I'm very keen that the county and the municipalities around respect the urban growth boundary. I think it's really important unless we want to pave over all of Charleston County. And it worries me a little bit when you say you don't have to be a historic settlement community to get an overlay. Then we would be setting a precedent that anyone could come in and ask for an upzone, yes, from 1 to 3 to 1 to 1. I mean, there was a reason Charleston County did that to begin with. I agree with that reasoning because there is a desire to keep some of our natural areas natural. And other than that, I would be in agreement. But the rural areas, that's very concerning.
Well, anybody else?
Luke?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence right now. Just after hearing from, sounded like I guess 2 people that came up and said that there is a portion of the community that is not on board with the upzoning in that area.
There's 50 of us that are here that just didn't speak that are for the 1 line. Sorry. No, and this is
No.
Bang
the gavel.
Bang the gavel. Public comment has been closed. Sorry.
Suffice it to say, they're not all in agreement.
But, not everybody's going to agree. And the AGR, there are AGR areas outside of the urban growth line. That's not a designation that's only inside the urban growth line. So the 1 house per acre, there are places outside of the urban growth line that have that designation. Is that correct, John?
Yes, our AGR zoning is 1 dwelling unit per acre.
Right.
And there is a precedent of upzoning significantly. The Parker's Ferry overlay was one that there's a lot of AG 10 out there that was at the request of the community, granted overwhelming majority. A lot of the AG 10 was rezoned to 1 dwelling unit per acre in certain areas because that's what the community wanted. So, and that's what we do as a planning staff. When we go out in the community, we find out what they want. It was not a large margin. I can tell you from staff's perspective, whether it's 1 dwelling unit per acre or 1 per 3, that's, for us, it's fine either way. We just want to be true to our process. And when we go out into the community and we ask what they want, that's what we got. So I don't want to brush over that and change it. That's up to this planning commission for a recommendation and county council ultimately to decide. Yeah.
Any other comments, questions?
I was just going to say one last thing. Was there any conversation around cul-de-sacs? So one of the things that I seem to see in the community in terms of areas that are developed very differently from what's existing is they tend to be cul-de-sacs with a large number of parcels, smaller parcels on them. Was that any discussion during the conversations with the community in terms of how to deal with that with the overlay district, or did that ever come up?
I don't recall the specific conversation of cul-de-sacs.
Okay. Because whenever I talked or asked the question about vehicular access, I actually thought that was what the intent was to stop kind of dead-end cul-de-sacs that reach into deep properties and then subdivide into I guess at this point it'd be 3rd-acre lots. And that seeming to be what is the difference in character from what's existing there. I don't know because at this point, I think that in general, given the 2 years worth of work, that it's a good overlay zoning district for this area, but that could be something in terms of further conversation for site development.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some lots, the way they're configured to begin with, it's hard to access it without doing some sort of dead end, and rather than them all connecting. But obviously, as a planner, my preference is that they all connect some way or another. But we're not. We don't have that situation in every development that we have. Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Can I ask one more question, which may be a stupid question? You talk about the 25% maximum impervious surface. I'm assuming that means the dwelling as well, the house as well?
Yes, that maximum impervious surface includes anything that does not allow water to pass through. So sheds, garages, buildings, driveways, if they're asphalt or concrete, patios, anything like that.
Right.
Swimming pools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Additionally, just curious as to why it would be 30% more allowed in the rural area as opposed to the 25% in the residential.
I can speak to that. Again, it was just proposed by the community, and that is a reduction. Currently, it's 40%, just so y'all are aware, in both areas.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready for the vote?
Do you want to remind the motion again? Was it as staff recommended? Yes. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Commissioner Davis? Commissioner Lassane?
Nay.
Chair Floyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones?
Aye.
Commissioner Kent?
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Morris?
Unfortunately, nay.
Vice Chair Pilatos?
Aye.
Commissioner Cox?
Unfortunately, because of the rural area upset.
The motion passes 6-3.
County Council will hear this request at their public hearing on October 14th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. in council chambers, and again at their October 23rd, 2025 Planning and Public Works Committee meeting at 5 p.m. The request must then undergo 3 readings for approval at council's discretion. The last item on the agenda is the chair's remarks, and I want to...
I'll hand them out for you.
Okay. There was an op-ed in the Post and Courier talking about approval of upzonings, and so I thought it was interesting enough that everybody on the council should have it and look over it. But this was specifically about Johns Island, but I think it applies to other areas too. Lori suggested this, and I agreed with him. So, read this, come back next month, and we'll have a quiz.
We want an individual report from everybody.
That's right.
At the next meeting.
Not just a report, we're going to have a quiz. We're going to have a quiz.
Everyone will have 5 minutes to present their findings of the article.
John there for a while had 100% attendance in our meetings, didn't he?
Yeah.
Right, where is he? Okay. All right. There's no further business. This meeting of the Charleston County Planning Commission stands adjourned. The Planning Commission will hold its next regularly scheduled meeting on Monday, October 13th, beginning at 2 p.m. in council chambers.